Welcome to another jam-packed episode of the Sports Card Nation podcast, the show that brings you all the important news from the sports card hobby. We'll have some debates, opinions, new release schedules, and info. Plus, we'll also discuss the sports that so directly affect the hobby we all love. We'll mix in an occasional gambling tip or two, throw in some life stuff, and bring you great guest interviews from the hobby and sports dignitaries. And if you're good listeners, we may even give away a few things now and then. Now, here's the guy who wanted the cards and not the gum, John Newman.
Hello, Newman. Hello, Newman.
It must be Friday. John Newman here, Sports Card Nation podcast. Back again for your weekly sports card podcast, your show. We bring you interviews, news, info, interactive and fun. Free giveaways, and we just gave away last week a $25 deep fried break credit to one of our lucky listeners, and we're going to give away another $20 here, not on this episode, but the following one. 30 episodes in here, 7 months on duty, if you will, and when I started this thing, folks, I had no idea number one, we'd last this long, and number two, we'd be as successful as we are. I believe there's, other than the United States and Canada, there's 15 other countries that I know about that we've been listened to. I get a demographics report each week from our platform, and we're on, speaking of platforms, we're on 10 different platforms as well. So, 30 episodes in, to say I'm ecstatic would be an understatement. It's just tremendous, and it's thanks to you guys, the listeners. And I know I usually do this at the end of the podcast, kind of changing it up a little bit and putting it on the front end. Maybe some of you don't make it to the end. I'll cover you this week by thanking you at the beginning, and I want to do that. We wouldn't be here, like I said, without listeners. The show's nothing if no one listens to it. And 30 weeks in, and 4-digit rotations and listens. Like I said, 17 different countries, and it just, the interaction is picking up. So thank you sincerely from us here at the Sports Card Nation podcast. Another great episode, or at least in my opinion. Brody the Kid is back for his second appearance on the show. We're going to cut it up, some funny stories, and he's really a great kid, and 11 years old, doing things in the hobby. We're going to make a special announcement during that interview of a future collaboration we're going to do, and so this is what the hobby should be about, is kids. I mean, it's a hobby for everybody, don't get me wrong, but the kids are the future of this hobby, and without them, where are we going? Who's going to carry the baton? I know I've said that before on this show, but it's a legitimate question. We're not going to be here forever. Someone else has to pick it up and run with it. And who else? Who's it going to be? It's going to be the kids. And Brody's a great example. If that's what the future is going to be like or similar, we'll be all right. And I love having him on. So he's on the show today. Still scandals in the hobby, trimming, black labels, selling trim cards, shill bidding, And let's be honest, there's whenever there's money to be made, that stuff is going to occur. I think it comes with the territory. I don't think, it's good to ignore it. I don't know if we have to report it every time, but what's going on currently is pretty big because it involves some real heavy hitters in the hobby. Your PSAs, your Beckett, your PWC marketplace, and a lot of guys that carry a lot of weight and in this hobby. So to not report on it, I don't think is doing the hobby due diligence. It's not something I want to focus on exclusively. Maybe like some other shows might, where that's all they talk about. I'm not a watchdog. I'm not the hobby police. but we are going to talk about it because it affects the hobby we care about, we're passionate about, the hobby we love and enjoy. So we'll talk a little bit about it in the hobby segment, just anything that's new since the last time we talked about it. Again, I think most have figured this thing's going to really kind of drag out. More stuff will slowly come to light as the card detectives, if you will, start to pry and dig and discover more indiscretions. We're going to talk about it when there's something worth talking about. We're not going to just rehash everything every episode. That just becomes a rerun. I've heard this type of stuff before. We're just going to report any kind of new revelations, new statements, new things pertaining to it, and so we'll touch on it a little bit during the hobby segment just to keep everyone abreast and up to date with what's going on. So we're on episode 30 here. I made an announcement on Twitter. I know it's a ways off. Episode 50, we're looking at 4 months from now, 5 months from now. We're going to give away $50 cash on episode 50. On episode 100, we're going to give away a $100 bill. We're thinking ahead there down the line. It's a ways off, but we want to kind of make that announcement. We're going to do our usual giveaways on a lot of the episodes in between that. Deep fried break credit, if that's what we do, some cards, some lots that we put together and stuff like that. So the giveaways will be ongoing. It's just that we announced for episode 50 and 100 what we plan on doing. And I got a feeling we'll be adding something along with that cash as well by then, so the way the show's going. So I want to touch on that, but I also wanted to reiterate that that's not the only giveaways we're ever going to do. We're going to do plenty of giveaways and be interactive and all that. We just want to, announce for those milestone episodes, episode 50 and 100. That's what we plan on doing. And like I said, we'll probably add to that cash as well for 50 and 100. So we're here on episode 30. That's no small fry either. And so without any further delay,
And here we go.
Deep fried brakes. Active brakes all the time. Gearing up for a huge month of June with great new releases. As friendly and knowledgeable about the product as there is in the business. Super fast shipping too. Go check them out and tell them that I sent you, and Blake will be glad to give you a promo code off your first brake. Check out Deep Fried Brakes, deepfriedbrakes.com. All right, it's time for What's Crackin'. June 14th, 2019, Panini Victory Lane Racing. Same day, also, 2019, Leaf Ultimate Sports. On the 19th, one release, 2019, Topps Museum Collection Baseball. Right now, Topps Series 2 is live. I'm going to be honest with you, I really was thinking about this, with Topps Series 2 and the update. I've never been a Series 2. I don't think we need 3 flagship releases of the brand. I'd rather see Topps do the original release and skip Series 2 and just release the update. The update where they can put rookies that didn't make it into the regular first series release, rookies, young stars that got called up after that, or veterans maybe that didn't have a card in the first series and are playing well and they could get them in the update. I'm just not a big fan of the Series 2 releases. I think history shows that it doesn't do well financially wise. Everyone, we all know the history with update rookies, and that's what people kind of start buying up and drive the price up. So I like to see Topps do a Series 1 release, at the start of baseball season or just before it, and then one more release, the update, and eliminate the Series 2. I know there'd probably be people disagree and like the three kind of series. I think it should be just the two. If it was up to me, there's a Gary V insert set in there. Mixed opinions on those. Again, I do like Gary V. He said he was going to get back into hobby in a big way. Was this what he was talking about? He's on autograph cards as well. I saw a dual auto, him and Derek Jeter. I saw another one, him and Mattingly. How do you feel about that? You pull a Derek Jeter auto card, you're excited, you're happy, then you realize it's a dual auto, and you're thinking, man, this is great, Jeter, Mattingly, Jeter and another Yankee legend, and then you look and you see it's Gary V. Are you still excited? Being Gary Lee's quite the celebrity in his own right now, or are you, man, I wish I got that Jeter auto by himself and could cut Gary V out of it? Where, what side of the aisle do you fall on there? I don't know. That's a tough one. Obviously, that's a great card to pull, regardless of your personal opinions of Gary V, but kind of different. You don't a lot of times see a non-sports person do auto in a Topps product, let's say. And here we are. He's got the insert set. I don't like the looks of them as far as the design itself. It almost looks too forced. I don't know. It just, I don't know how to explain it. Just kind of odd, I guess, is the word. I don't really feel like it's a natural fit. And I've said on the show and in previous episodes when we've talked about, I'd love to see Gary V involved in Topps. I mentioned I was kind of rooting for him to maybe buy them and kind of be the creative director and design manager or what have you. Seeing this insert set and his involvement in these dual autos, and I'm not as thrilled with it as I probably thought I might be. I'd rather see him really involved behind the scenes rather than on the cards themselves. But it is what it is. When you're a mover and a shaker, these things can get you on the cardboard, and he's gotten himself on the cardboard. Is it a money grab for Topps to do that? Is it the first step in him getting involved more with Topps and whatnot? I don't know. I just know my initial reaction to it is I'm not thrilled about it. I don't like the design. I think it's going to be a mixed bag of reviews. He's dual autos with some of these other Hall of Famers, basically. And, if you pull one of these, do you feel like he ruins that card? Does he enhance that card? Being like, I keep bringing the Jeter one up because I just saw that one. Give us some feedback on that. Do you like the Gary V dual autos with these superstars of the game that he appears with? And or would you rather they, maybe just do the insert set with him endorsing that, and that's it. So what say you? I love your feedback. My opinion is I thought I would probably like it a little more, but seeing it, now that I see it, now that it's live, I'm kind of, I don't know how to, it's odd. I don't love it by any stretch of the imagination. So, well, we got to touch on it. I don't necessarily think it has to be a topic every week on this weekly podcast, but the scandals going on with the trimming and grading and those sort of things. What I do plan to do with the show and that topic, folks, is if there are anything new to report, I'll talk about it. I don't want to just keep rehashing the same stuff, beating a dead horse, and that sort of thing. So one of the new things is Beckett's issued a statement. I'll read it here. So this statement is from Jeremy Murray, Vice President of Beckett Grading. And this was in response to Wall Street Journal reaching out to BGS about the trimming stuff. And here's what his response to that was. Quote, collectors submit cards to Beckett Grading Services for an opinion on condition and authenticity. If a card measures up, appears to be authentic, and has no visible signs of alteration, we assign that card a grade. This grade is formulated from our opinion based on the card's appearance and nothing else. Some people in the industry do their best to deceive collectors. Our job is to limit people from being successful, and I feel we do an excellent job. One of the statements, if you heard it in there, he alludes to not knowing who the graders are, and they're grading the card. It's not the person. And I think that refers to former employee Joe Clemens, who has gotten an incredible percentage of black labels back on his submission. 22 in a row at one point. One order of 22 cards, 17 were black labels. For those that don't know, a black label is obviously the highest grade, and it's all the subgrades equal 10. You can get a pristine, which is a BGS 10, where not all the subgrades are a 10. A black labels, all subgrades are a 10, and it's a BGS 10 black label. There's pristine, which is a BGS 10, where they don't all 10 out. So I think most of you know that, but I just wanted to make those who weren't aware. Black labels are not easy to get. They command an extreme premium on the secondary market. And I'm gonna tell you, myself, I've sent in over 500 cards to Beckett Grading. Over 500. Now, I'm going to take away the first 50, because when I sent those early in, when really Beckett Grading really just started, I was not really scrutinizing the cards. I mentioned on our grading podcast episode that I was very naive at the beginning of grading, and I just liked the card, and I didn't look at it very well or with a magnifier or a loop. I just kind of did a quick eye test, and I sent it in, and I got a lot of 8s and 8.5s, and I learned a quick lesson that, I got to be more critical of the stuff I sent in. And this was, again, early on in the early days of grading. So I'll throw the first 50 out, and so that leaves about 450 other cards that I've submitted to Beckett Grading since those early submissions. Cards, and when I throw those first 50 out because I wasn't scrutinizing them, let's talk about the other 450. These are ones that I put through the LED light, the microscope, the jeweler's loop, a magnifier, and passed those inspections, and I thought had a chance at 10s and that. And so, I sent in 450 of those cards that I thought had a chance to get 10s or a black label. Not one of those 450 ever got a black label. Never gotten a black label. I've gotten 10s quite a bit, a lot of 9.5s, but 450 submitted cards, not one black label 10. I've gotten 10s, but not a black label 10. This gentleman, an employee or employee at the time, sends 22 cards in and 17 black label. At one point, he hit 22 in a row black label. I don't care who you are, that smells a foul. It just does. One of the cards he submitted and got a black label 10. There's a picture making the rounds where you can see there's edge edgeware and some corner issues. Yet it's slabbed as a Black Label 10. So things definitely look odd. The saying, if it walks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. And I think, Beckett, you got a duck on your hands, okay? And it's you hate to see this stuff because it doesn't help the hobby, and it's a black eye on the industry right now. And another hobbyist is claiming that they were offered a guaranteed grade deal from Beckett. If they submit so many cards, they were going to get grades guaranteed, including black labels. Now, anyone can say anything. It's sort of a hearsay statement, but things just don't look good. You got the vice president responding to a Wall Street Journal issue. There's some other stuff involved with Brian Gray and Leaf and Beckett grading. So this thing isn't just the Moser PWCC and the card trimming PSA stuff. This thing is really going across multiple platforms, multiple companies. There's more card trimmers being exposed, and I think this thing is going to continue to grow. This hobby has proven itself to have some detective work going on inside it. People are really doing their due diligence and digging this stuff up and doing the background on this and the research and bringing this stuff to light. I think that's good. And I'll tell you why I think it's good. While it does put the hobby in a bad perspective right now, it's also lets people know that you'll get found out. What you're doing will come to light, and you may be prosecuted if it's criminal. And maybe it deters future episodes, okay? Or future, people doing it. But right now, a lot of things are coming to the surface that have been below the surface for many years, and now things are getting exposed. And as they should, I know I always get mad when people compare cards to stocks and Wall Street, but there are some similarities. And if there's illegal activity on Wall Street, insider trading and illegal deals and monopolies and those sort of things, those things get reported. People have went to prison for that, and they're still, when you're dealing with cards that are thousands of dollars, and some are some of these cards are bringing 6 figures, even more, 5 figures. This is serious business, and when there's crooked or shady stuff going on, and it manipulates that market, card manipulation, that needs to be gotten rid of if possible. And if not gotten rid of, the people doing it need to be exposed, need to be prosecuted. So, some people say just let it go, let it, quit looking for stuff. And, I want to say the opposite. I mean, this stuff affects the hobby we love and care about, and we need to try to get rid of it. We're never, let's be real, it's never going to be 100%, gotten rid of. It's like the war on drugs, you put a damper in it, but it's never going to be completely gone. As long as money can be made and big money can be made in this industry, there's going to be people looking to manipulate the market, manipulate the cards, make that money, cash in on it, illegally, legally, both, okay? So it's never going to be completely gone. So I think, to out the people, to report it, to prosecute if charges are worthy, I think that needs to be done. I think, the hobby right now is in a kind of police itself mode. Again, a lot of people kind of digging up the dirt, looking, connecting the dots and whatnot. And some people might look at that as a bad thing. I'm going to kind of come out of a different perspective. I think it's sad, that this is even something that we have to talk about and that it's going on. But we also can't bury our heads in the sand and act like it isn't happening either. I think that's just a naive approach. I've said from day one of this show in November that I want this show to be a positive, and I think predominantly it has been. But at the same time, when something like this is occurring to this level, we have to talk about it. We have to bring it up and broach the subject. And like I said, what I don't want to do, and I've already said this, what I don't want to do is talk about the same thing every week just for ratings or listens and whatnot. So you really probably won't hear me talk about the same thing twice unless there's a new wrinkle, a new development, a new story related to the original story, a new statement, a new discovery. Then I might talk about it. I just don't want to kind of rehash the same thing from episode 25 to episode 30. That's easy to do. You're beating a dead horse. So anything I comment on will be new revelations, new statements, new breaking news sort of things, and that sort of thing. And again, I still want to focus on the predominant good news of this hobby. And there's a lot of good news in this hobby. And there's a lot of good people in this hobby. If we're putting a percentage on it, it's probably over 90% are people who do the right thing, don't trim cards, send when someone buys a card, sends it promptly, fulfills orders, trades and holds their end up a trade. There's people who give away stuff and give to Signatures for Soldiers and Kedarity cards and other worthy card charities, or just gives some cards to someone because it's their favorite team and they like it. I just recently did that myself, and those are the good things of the hobby, and those will always outshine the bad. But the bad is real, and again, I think, we do have to sometimes talk about it. And right now, there's just so much coming to the surface that to not talk about it, to not, bring attention to it is not doing due diligence. And I want to do due diligence. Do I enjoy talking about it? Do I wish it didn't happen? Sure, I don't enjoy talking about it. I wish none of this stuff was occurring, but it is. And when it does, we have to talk about it. We have to talk about it. How do we fix it? Can we fix it? What do you do? And that sort of thing. So there's my rant. There's my soapbox moment. I hope, we get to a point where this is not an every week thing.
We love our listeners. Without you, there is no us. We care about your opinions and feedback and invite you to reach out to us on any of our social media accounts. On Instagram at Sports Card Nation Podcast, Twitter at SportsCardNati1, or email the show at sportscardnationpc@gmail.com. We don't ask for much, but if you really like the show, give us a shout out. Tell your friends or give us a follow on our social medias. If you enjoy the show, please give us a positive review on iTunes or any of the platforms you are listening on. Thank you.
Excuse me. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
So with the length of last week's episode at almost 2 hours, I didn't get to the wide open segment like I try to do each week. So I do have a few questions for this week's segment of Wide Open. One will come from us the way of Instagram, and one will come to us the way of Twitter. Keep those questions coming. A reminder, if you go on the Anchor FM app or site, you can ask us a verbal question or voice message, and we play that message on the air if you want to go that route. But this one comes to us from Instagram via direct message from a Remy Sox 45, and Remy Sox 45 says, John, with everything going on in the hobby, you know it, you've reported as others have your habits, or have you habits changed, or have you made any adjustments with what you do personally? It's a great question. I really haven't touched on it while talking about some of the stuff going on Remy Sox. I haven't really kind of influxed any of my personal opinion on that, but so I will answer that now, being that you asked directly. If you've listened to the show, you've probably gauged that I do submit cards to be graded. Lately this year, it's mostly PSA, but I have sent plenty of cards to BGS in the past, and if you heard the hobby open, I talked a little bit about that and why I'm a little disappointed in what things are going on there. I'm obviously disappointed with the things going on with PSA, with cards being trimmed, making it through their graders and slabbed, and on both of the big two graders have really took a step back in my mind and lost a little of my respect, if you will. Do I think they're done or that's the end? Not by a long shot. Okay. I don't own stock in PSA, but I'll tell you the truth. If that stock gets, it's a publicly traded company, if that stock gets a lot lower, if that's the trend that continues, I may buy in there and try to get in on that basement level if it gets to that vicinity or close, because I do think they're gonna take some shots, they're gonna take some lumps, but I do think that there's just too many people submitting cards to both grading companies for them to really, go extinct, if you will. So I don't ever see that. I think this is going to be a valley. As far as any habits I've changed, I'll be honest with you. I usually submit cards each month for grading. Like I said, this year's been really heavy on the PSA submissions, and right now I've kind of put those on hold, to be quite honest with you. I have kind of a little box, an Ultra Pro top loader box that I put candidates to be graded in there, and then I kind of weed those out, and there's cards in now, a couple of those boxes that are potential grading specimens that I'm just at this point, they're going to sit in there, and I'm not really looking to submit. Will that change? I'm sure it will. When? I don't know. We got to see how these things play out. So that habit, that's changed what I do for sure, no doubt. As far as buying, I don't buy a lot of those 4-figure cards where I think these trimming comes into play. Now, I have 4-figure cards, but I usually don't buy them. I just obtain them from various methods, and it's not like I have a million of them. But if I was to really start buying on that level a lot more, I think you got to tread lightly and really do your research, and try to maybe figure out where the card came from, kind of track its progression, how it's changed hands, and that sort of thing. So, but as far as submitting, I've kind of put that on pause and letting this stuff, chips fall where they may, and this stuff play out. And will I grade again? I'm sure I will. With who? Let's see how this when the smoke clears and the dust settles, let's see where both of these big two are standing. So question number 2 comes from the way of Twitter. Frank D asks, you just put up a poll asking which 4 young players you would invest in if you can only invest in one. Answer your own poll with a reason why you're answering it the way you will. So great way to turn my poll around back on me, but I love it, and I really kind of look forward to answering it. So the 4 choices I put on the Twitter poll, in case you didn't see, were Fernando Tatis Jr., Vlad Guerrero Jr., Pete Alonso, and Austin Riley. I know, guys, that there are a lot more rookies as well than that. I just kind of choose those 4 because they're kind of the hottest of the 4 at the moment. And so if I had to answer my own poll question, I will tell you this. At the time of recording, Vlad Jr. is winning that poll, but there's still time to vote to change that if you want to. And I'd probably say him as well, with a little caveat, and I hate to do that, but if he can stay in decent shape and really, maybe hit the workout room even more so, and kind of turn a little bit of that pudge into more muscle. I mean, he's got tremendous power now. I think he's going to be a force. It looks like he's going to hit for a decent average, but he slims down a little bit, turns that little pudge into muscle. Maybe you'll get some more home runs and some more doubles as he legs out those extra base hits. So I still think he's a superstar in the making and on that path. And I think, truthfully, the only thing that could slow him down are injuries pertaining to carrying extra weight on his frame over the long haul. We've all known guys that kind of fit that mold before, your Cecil Fielders and, even in the pitching realms, CC Sabathias and Bartolos and those guys. And, that extra weight doesn't help them. So I like to see him get in better shape. I'm sure the Blue Jays would too. Do I think it's, he's going to be terrible if he doesn't lose 20 pounds or whatever have you? No, but I think he's already on his way to becoming a tremendous player, and I think he can even be better with a better regiment and program if he gets on one. So I'm sure the Blue Jays are on that as well as him. So we'll see how his career spans out as he continues it. So thank you guys for the 2 questions. I thought they were very good. We had a couple other ones. I tried to pick the best ones I could. I usually go with 2 or 3 questions. We went with 2 this week. So again, in closing, folks, reach out to us on any of our social medias with any questions you want to hear read and answered on a future episode. I try to get to 2 or 3 each episode. Last week we didn't get to it. I apologize for that. But on Twitter, on Instagram, email, any direct messages. And again, if you go to anchor.fm, you can voice message the show via that method. So that's anchor.fm/Sports Card Nation. If you go there, you can leave basically like a voicemail. Ask your question. I'll play it and answer it on the next episode. So again, thank you for the submission. All right, joining me now, this is his second appearance on the Sports Card Nation podcast. Great young man, should be an inspiration not only to the youth of the hobby, but anyone in the hobby doing things at 11 years old that older people can only think about doing. It's Brody the Kid. He's back again on Sports Card Nation. We're glad to have him. Brody, welcome back.
What's up, everybody?
So what's going on? I know you play baseball. How's baseball season going?
Not pretty well. Our team's pretty good, and it's just a lot of fun with all the traveling and tournaments. It's really fun.
Yep. So how far will you go, like on a tournament, like travel wise?
Well, some tournaments are like the average tournament's probably like an hour away, but then we have a few tournaments that are like 5 hours away.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's cool. Get to see the sites a little bit. So how many games on a tournament day, like how many games a day can you play up to?
I think it's usually like the most you could play, like in a tournament, I think is like 5 or 6, like if you like reached a championship.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. And what positions are you playing?
third base, second base, pitcher, and I'll play left field once in a while.
Yep. So you're playing half the defense and pitching.
Mhm.
That's pretty cool. Well, I played Brody from the age of 5, and at 46, I'm still playing men's competitive softball. So I'm not as good as I used to be, but I'm still hanging in there. So keep playing.
Okay.
All right. So what's been going on? I know your account got hacked recently, your Twitter account. So you got a new one. Well, how'd you know it happened? What happened?
It was just like we were going on there to post one day and looking in the morning. I think we posted something the night before, and we went on there, and it didn't show that I've ever posted anything. And it was like not letting us log into the account and stuff. Like, we don't even know what happened. We think like a few people hacked it, but we're not really for sure.
Yeah. Did you lose anything like you didn't have saved or couldn't get back?
Yeah, like all of those posts on that old Twitter, like we could not get back.
Yeah, that stinks, and it's too bad people do stuff like that, but what are you gonna do? There's people like that out there. That's their, that's on them. But well, you got to start a new, fresh one, and sometimes that's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, I mean, there's bullies everywhere you go, on computers, Xbox, wherever you are. There's bullies out there, and they will just try to be mean.
Yep. You want to know why that happens though, Brody?
Why?
Because most of the time, those people are just jealous of what you're doing. So it's they can't do better than you, so they resort to cheap shots and low blows and those type of tactics. So my advice to you is let it roll off your back and almost take it almost as a compliment, because that means they're jealous of you. So you're doing something right, and maybe they're not, and that's how they try to be mean in return. So take it as a source of achievement, and don't worry about what those people do or say.
Yeah, that's what we were kind of figuring too. If like the people are like jealous, and that's why they did it.
Yep. No, and I'm going to tell you, I'm not an expert. I don't want to come across as one, but I've lived 46 years on the planet, so I have some experience in this type of stuff, and I am a dad, so I've seen that aspect of it, and that's where it comes from, Brody. It's when people kind of jealous of you and your successes and your positive attitude, and they're not like that. They're going to try, maybe they're not a very happy person, or they're a miserable person, and that's what they do. They try to make you miserable too. So the best thing you can do, keep going. Don't even respond to those type people, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to elicit a response from you, and when you don't give it to them, you win.
Yeah.
So that's all you have to do. Keep doing Brody the Kid stuff and that sort of thing. So enough of those bad people. I don't even want to talk about them because they're not worth either of our time. Well, you got a big event coming up, the Nationals. Are you going?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you going for the whole week?
Yeah, I think so.
That's cool. I'm probably not going to be able to go. I may make a weekend appearance. I'm not ruling that out. I'm ruling that being there the whole week, but I may be able to make it in Saturday or Sunday. And if I do, obviously I'm looking forward to meeting you in person.
That'll be really awesome.
Yep. And so I have another question for you pertaining to that, but I'm going to save it towards the end here. So, have you opened much, any packs recently? Any boxes?
I mean, I did open a Topps Tier 1 a little bit ago. I've opened a lot of Big League, a lot of Bowman Mega, and then some of the Topps exclusive Walgreens.
Yeah. How'd you do? Hit anything huge? Anything talk about worthy?
I mean, the Tier 1, I got a Dale Murphy auto to 25. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty good. He's a borderline Hall of Famer, and I'm one of those people that think he really should be in. I remember, while I'm a Mets fan, I watch a lot of TBS in the Braves game, and, he was quite the home run hitter and a very good overall player. So I always felt like he was definitely a Hall of Famer, and he's been close, and I think maybe the Veterans Committee will eventually get him in. So you probably have a Hall of Fame auto card there numbered to 25 at some point if you hold on to it.
Yeah, I think he should be in the Hall of Fame too.
Yep.
He was pretty good.
Yeah, well, he's got 2 votes from us, so there he goes. So what else? How about on social media? Have you done anything? What you been promoting or doing? I know a big thing to you, and I really appreciate the fact that you do it. You tell your fellow young constituents to do good in school and keep in the books and work hard. What other kind of stuff have you been doing and stuff social media wise?
Oh, I've got a contest going on now because I'm trying to get some of my Twitter followers back.
Yeah.
Because it's been with the hacking thing. So I said when I got to 300 followers, I would give away a box of Bowman Mega. So
yeah.
That's been the main thing that's been going on like Twitter right now.
Okay. Well, I follow you, so can I have the box?
We're gonna randomly draw it.
Okay. I thought I'd try it anyway. I thought we were friends, so, I'm just kidding with you. Well, somebody's going to win a mega box.
Maybe it'll be you.
Maybe. You can't find them on the shelves. Everyone's buying them up like they're hotcakes.
Yeah, like they'll get bought before they even get to Target.
Yeah, I think the person putting them on the shelves probably buys them themselves. I don't know. It seems like that. But no, you see a lot of, I'm sure you've seen them too. You see a lot of posts on social media, people with their whole shopping carts full of them, and they're checking out and buying them. I get it. I guess there's 2 ways to look at it. First come, first serve, and the other person that didn't get any's probably not feeling first come, first serve at the moment either. So what else is going on? What you got? Any future things you're looking to open up or do card wise?
Oh, I'm kind of looking forward to Finest coming out this week. Those are really nice. I really enjoyed it because they just look really like chromy. They just look really cool. Yeah,
I'm a fan of Finest. Like you said, they got that thick stock. They're shiny. They're usually, you got the silver with the color of the uniform, and they really do stand out. Now, when you get your stuff, Brody, do you have a certain store you always go to?
Yeah, my LCS, Jim and Steve's, is where I go to get all this stuff.
And that's in the Chicago area. You're in the Chicago area, if my memory serves me right?
Yeah.
Yep, so the Nationals in your backyard.
Yeah, pretty much.
How good? How sweet is that?
That's pretty. It's really awesome because I don't even have to really travel anywhere.
Yeah, I would just bring a sleeping bag and sleep right in the convention center. You don't even have to go home. Just have some snacks, in case you get the munchies at nighttime.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. They'd kick you out, but it's worth a try to see if you can find a hiding place and how long it'd take them to find you.
Yeah.
So, but that's cool. I put 2 and 2 together. I remember you're from Chicago, so of course you're going to go to Nats. That's going to be cool. I'm here in the East Coast here. I'm in Syracuse, originally from New York City. I'd love it to come back to New York or even Buffalo. I don't know if that's going to happen, but it's going to be in Atlantic City next year, and I'm making plans to Yep, go ahead. Well, I was going to say I'm making plans to be there definitely next year, longer than let's say the weekend. And I'm assuming the show's going to be still doing pretty well. And my plan is really just to hand out a bunch of show promotional stuff, shirts, who knows what else, and that sort of thing. So maybe you could give me a hand giving away some free stuff next year.
Yeah, I mean, that'll be weird for me, though, because that would be hard, because that's a pretty long drive for me next year.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, if you know, we'll see. You got a lot of time between now and then.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, I say just take a plane, but I'm not the hugest fan of flying in planes.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of a nervous flyer too, Brody. But I still do it every once in a while, and I like this. Scared as I might be a little bit, I always want to be near the window.
Yeah, because you always see on like the news that a plane blew up and whatever died.
Yeah, but do you know it's safer to fly than to be in a car, statistically?
I guess that kind of makes sense.
It is true, but you know what I tell someone who tells me that?
What?
Cars don't drop 35,000 feet. All right, so there's the comeback to that. So, but have you ever flown before?
Yeah, I've done it a few times. I just don't like it because then my ears will start to pop.
Yeah.
Because you get bored. In the car, like, you'll stop every once in a while. The plane, you're just seeing your seat for who knows how long.
Yeah, you're a captive audience.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, flying though gets you there a lot quicker. That part's definitely the good part. So, speaking of Chicago, my son's 19 now, so about 7-8 years ago, I went to Chicago for the first time, and I took a train here from Syracuse to Chicago because he won an All-American award, and the banquet was in Chicago, and I took it Amtrak, and I got to tell you, I wish I would have flown because that train ride was not the most comfortable, and it took longer than it was supposed to. So I was kind of regretting not flying to Chicago from Syracuse.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather fly if it's that far.
Yeah, I think it's the smart play.
Mm-hmm.
Well, man, it sounds like you're busy between the Nationals coming up and travel baseball and regular league baseball and what you're doing with your account and building it back up again. You're a busy 11-year-old guy. How's school going?
I mean, this week's my first week in summer break, so I mean that's kind of nice. I mean, school went pretty well. I got straight A's the whole year, and then I take my report card up to Jim and Steve's and try to get some tops of the class pack. So that should be cool.
Yep. So shout out to your LCS, Jim and Steve's. Is that in Chicago?
It's around Chicago.
Yep. So you have to tell them when next time you're in there. You tell them listen to episode 30, and they're mentioned in the Sports Card Nation podcast. And you can tell them you can thank me for that, and maybe get a free pack or two, even more out of the deal.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. So Jim and Steve, hook Brody the Kid up. He mentioned you here on episode 30. So take care of this young man. I know you probably do already. But a little extra pack or two ain't gonna hurt him. He gave you a little bit of press time, so hook Brody up. So, like I said, I'm not sure I'm gonna make it to the Nationals. If I do, it's gonna be just Saturday and Sunday, truthfully, and even that, like I said, I'm not 100% sure of. But what I'd love for you to do, if you were interested, I'd like to hire you. The pay is not great. It will probably be some packs or some things like that. But I'm looking for a correspondent to report each day from the National for me.
Yeah, I'd love to do that.
All right, you're in. You're hired. I'm going to hire you over the air. So in front of and with everyone listening. So what I would like to do, Brody, on Nationals Week is maybe towards the end of the day. After depending on how long you're there too, maybe one time I can talk to you while you're there, but just kind of give me a synopsis of the day and what you saw and what you did. And what I'll do is I'll take each of those little mini episodes and we'll put it on the weekly show that week, and we'll make one big, the Nationals with Brody episode that week.
Okay, that'll be great.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun, and it'll, I think, I know I've said this the last time you were on, Brody, kids in the hobby mean the world to me. You guys and girls are the future of this industry. Us older people are not going to be here forever, and someone else has to take the baton in the hobby and keep the hobby going. And so, your age group and that is very important to the vitality of this hobby and continuing it to be strong. So to see, you to report from the Nationals from a 11-year-old's eyes and perspective, I think it's a very important perspective. It's something I'm glad I'm able to tap into and talk to you and have you do that. And I think it's very important. Imagine if kids didn't collect and then we're not here no more and what happens,
Yeah, the hobby's done for then.
Yeah, no one wants to see that. If you love the hobby and care about it, obviously you don't want to see that. Eventually someday you might be a dad and you probably want your kids to be involved and you still too, you can kind of share that hobby with them. But if those kids don't stay in the hobby, there's not going to be one to participate in, and that's what we want to see. So I love what you're doing, social media wise. I love your attitude, man. I love that you do well in school and encourage others to do well in school and get those extra sports cards, maybe with that good report card. That's a perk. Not that's the only reason to get good grades, but it definitely helps as well. So what you're doing is great, man. Keep going. And if someone has something negative to say and whatnot, who cares? Don't worry about them. They can't affect you unless you let them. And that's important to know, Brody, is it only affects you if you let it. If you just let it roll off your back, turn the page, say who cares, it's just words on a screen or words on a page or whatever. It's no big deal and keep going, then you win. Ultimately you win.
Yeah.
And
I kind of have a story for you.
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay, so have you ever had have your cards damaged weirdly or randomly?
You mean out of a pack I'm opening?
Or they were sitting on the desk and you look at them and they were damaged or something. They were just randomly damaged.
Yeah. I mean, I've opened. I think it's more where I've opened the pack and they kind of came out looking like that. Or maybe I think we've all done this, and collectors can relate to this. We've all dropped a card, or it's fall off our desk or dresser and landed on a corner or something, and hopefully it's not a real crazy good card, but we've all probably done that at least one time. Mishandled a card and have it hit the floor, and maybe something a little bit happens to it. But I've opened packs where the pack looked like it was jammed in the box, and so a side or corners all got kind of dinged up.
So I think it was on Memorial Day, I was just sitting around watching TV, and in the vent that's over my desk, I hear noises. So I go over to the vent, and I look up, and I see a bird in the vent.
Holy smokes.
So we got it out eventually, but then after it happened, one of my autos that was sitting on my desk from something that I opened was just sitting there, and I looked at it. The bird freaked out, and he must have let out some poop onto that card.
So it's a poop used card now.
Yeah, my parents made me throw it away.
Yeah, probably a safe bet. You probably could have cleaned it up if you really wanted it. If that's a Mike Trout, I'm trying to save that thing.
Yeah.
Well, there's
huge though.
Yeah, well, there's a story you don't hear all the time. You got to watch out. So, folks, watch out for birds and use soft sleeves and top loaders. So at least you can take it out and still save the card.
I should have probably had that in the gobbler.
Well, I don't think you were anticipating a bird hanging out in your vent, dropping bombs on your cards either. So, I know I don't. So, that's it. Now, does the story have a happy ending? Did you let the bird out free, or?
Yeah, we got the bird out eventually.
Well, do you know what kind it was?
I think it was at like 9.
A what?
Oh, 9? I think it was. I don't even know what kind it was.
Yeah. It wasn't like a pterodactyl, right? From the
No.
All right. Yeah.
It was a pretty big bird. I mean, it was just like a regular, like, black bird, but I mean, it was a pretty big bird.
Yeah. Was it a crow? You said it was a black bird. The crows are those bigger size, usually black birds.
It might have been. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, well, apparently that bird came in with some bad intentions towards your cards, and it's nice. It's nice that you were nice enough to let him survive and release him back into the wild. So maybe he's at someone else's house now, checking their cards out.
Yeah.
Well, that's a pretty different story. I wasn't expecting to hear a bird baseball card story, but usually if I'm talking about bird and cards, it's about Larry Bird. Do you even know who Larry Bird is?
Yeah.
All right, I'll just check. I know you're 11. There's probably a lot of 11-year-olds that don't know who Larry Bird is. Well, man, that's awesome. Watch out for birds. You don't want any more cards getting, affected, we'll say. But again, man, we'll touch base closer to the Nationals, and we'll get that set up. I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping, Brody, I'm not ruling it out. I'm hoping maybe to make a weekend appearance. And if so, we're definitely, I'll have to buy you lunch.
I hope you could go.
Yeah, well, maybe, I'll tell you what, if you promise you buy me lunch, I'll fly in. I'm kidding.
I'll buy you lunch.
I'm kidding. But if I do, if I get there, we'll have to do lunch and talk and chat, meet in person. It'd be fun, and walk the show floor as well. You can tell me about your home city, Chicago. Even though I was there once for about 3 to 4 days, I had kind of a whole itinerary set up, so I didn't get to see a lot of the. I did go to a Cubs game, and I know you're not a Cubs fan, if I remember right? You're a Sox kid.
Yes.
All right. Well, I did want to see Wrigley Field, so I got to do that. I'm not a Cubs fan. I'll make you feel better. I wasn't rooting for him per se. I just wanted to go to the game and see Wrigley Field. So I did get to do that 7-8 years ago, and I love the city. For the brief time I was there, I loved the city. It was pretty cool. I remember saying to my wife, I'd like to come back here someday. So maybe I'll get to do it here in a month or two and get in there. I haven't ruled it out, like I said, but I'm not betting on it either. We'll see how things play out. But whether I make it or not, I'm glad you're gonna be my correspondent from the show floor. You'll be my man live on the scene.
Okay.
Breaking news. All right?
Okay.
All right, so Brody, I'll let you get the last word in here. Give out your new social medias and anything you want to share where people can follow you at and get in this contest as well.
Okay, so my Instagram is still Brody the Kid 1, so that one didn't get hacked. And then my Twitter is Brody TK.
So Brody TK is your new Twitter handle.
And I need 11 more followers to give away the Bowman Mega Box.
All right, 11 more followers. Well, what I'm going to do when I get off the line with you, I'll do a little, follow Brody post and shout you out and see if we can get you 11 or more followers as quick as we can. That way I can get my Mega Box.
Thank you.
So, all right, Brody. Hey, great job. Keep doing what you're doing, man. You're an inspiration, not just to kids, but adults alike, and you're inspiring, man. And I love having you on. And again, keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
All right, buddy. We'll see ya.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome.
For over 25 years, Newman Sports Cars has set the standard in customer service in the hobby, including same-day shipping. They've added trading card supplies and wax products to their already impressive arsenal of rookie cards, game-used cards, autographed and graded cars. Check their fully searchable website out by Googling Newman Sports Cards or go to bit.ly/Newman Sports Cards. Give them a follow on their social medias on Instagram, Newman_sports cards, and on Twitter @NewMSportsCards, or give them a call or text at 315-491-0239. Newman Sports Cards, for all your hobby needs.
It's time for From the Box Seat.
That was in last place on January 3rd. The players on the bench are bouncing up. History will be made tonight in Boston. 15 seconds to go as Shen blocks a puck to the corner. 10 seconds remaining. Get up, St. Louis. Get on your feet. Raise them high. 5 seconds to go, and the time winds down. They did it. It's over. The game is over. The series is over. The wait is over. And the St. Louis Blues are the Stanley Cup champions for the first time in franchise history.
Well, as a Ranger fan, I have hope. The Blues went from last to first, and they win their first Cup title in the history of the franchise. Ryan O'Reilly is your Conn Smythe winner. What an incredible story. Bennington in goal, a rookie, wins, gets his name on the Stanley Cup, and quite frankly, he could have won the MVP as well. I thought he played immense, and they wouldn't be where they were without him this season. So, incredible kind of rags to riches stories, kind of that the Mighty Ducks feel to it. Kind of a Disney script, but your Blues are your Cup champions, and like I said, I mentioned Rangers. That's my team. But if you're a fan of a team didn't fare well this year in the NHL, this kind of story gives you hope that as quick as the following season, you may be celebrating something like this, like what the Blues just did. So, incredible Game 7s in Stanley Cup finals. Not a lot more exciting in sports than that. So, you got your Super Bowls and maybe your Game 7 of the World Series, but it's really right up there as one of the best things in sports to get to watch. And I definitely watched this. I fell asleep towards the end, kind of when St. Louis had it in hand, and then woke back up. But congratulations, Blues and Blues fans as well. In basketball, by the time you hear this recording, the game will be completed. But Game 6, as Toronto tries to win their first title in their franchise history over Golden State. Golden State's without Kevin Durant, who's just went under Achilles surgery. And speaking of Durant, many people feel he's played his last game for Golden State, and he'll take his talents elsewhere. New York with the Knicks, Brooklyn, various other places. So we'll see. Right now, the finals are still going on, so he's still a member of Golden State. If you're asking me, do I think he stays or goes? I think he goes, but you never know, and money's a big factor as well. And let's be real, Golden State, if he stays, gives him really still a very good chance to win more rings. So I don't think it's a given that he's out of California, but I guess if I had to put money on it, I would say he is. David Ortiz, I'm sure you've heard by now, has been shot. And in early reports, when it happened, made it sound like it wasn't that terrible of a wound, and he was recovering and he was okay. But as we're learning now, as time evolves here, he was seriously wounded. His spleen and liver were damaged. He's now in Boston. This happened in the DR, Dominican Republic, and he's in Boston getting treated for his bullet wound. And he's in ICU. He is expected to recover and be okay, but more significant damage than initially reported. At the time I'm recording this, 6 people have been arrested for this crime, and rumors that list may grow larger. There's, I've heard various different motives, from Poppy supposedly sleeping with somebody's wife, to owing money. So, very early stages of this. So we'll have to let it play out, see what comes out, what this is all about, who's behind it, and whatnot. But, as a human being, obviously you're glad, he wasn't killed, and he's expected to make a full recovery. Shohei Ohtani hit for his first ever cycle this week. He's starting to hit the ball, heating up. So it might be time to dust off those Ohtani rookies again, as starting to heat up with the bat. Not pitching, probably won't pitch this year, but he's showing that he's a legitimate Major League Baseball hitter, and can do things with the bat. So I just wonder, long term, let's say he just was a hitter and he never pitched again, viability wise, what kind of player would he be? But the fact that he does both, and does both fairly well, is obviously not common. So, just when you thought the Ohtani mania was over, not so fast yet. So will be interesting to watch his progression, and next year in 2020, when he takes the hill again, see how he recovers from that arm injury as well. So as we put a bow tie on episode 30, I just want to say again, thanks for everyone for listening, for making the show what it is. I think we've made more of an impact than I ever could have imagined, and I'm honored and thrilled with that. I want to say, despite what's going on, some of the dark clouds that might be in the hobby at the moment, and whether you participate in grading or not, and regardless of what's going on right now, whatever you enjoy in the hobby, continue to enjoy it. Steer clear of that as best you can. The hobby is still great. For every one Moser, there's 9 great people, if not more. So don't let the actions of a few ruin the hobby, or get you down where you don't want to participate in it anymore. Do your thing. Do it above board. Have fun. Be good to others in the hobby. And that stuff's contagious. It'll spread. And that's really what the hobby's about. As our tagline says, the hobby is the people. I firmly believe that, good and bad. We got to take the good and the bad, but I think there's way more good than the bad, and that's what's very important. So keep plugging away, keep enjoying what you do, steer clear of those potholes in the road, and we'll all be okay. Whatever you do. I want to thank my guest, Brody the Kid, again, 11-year-old young man. Doing some great things, and a great ambassador for this hobby. And that's what the hobby needs sometimes, especially during the current state of affairs. So, Brody, thank you. Well, obviously, if you heard the interview, we'll be hearing from Brody a little bit more as we approach the National and whatnot. So, as always, folks, thank you sincerely, and it's become a staple way I close the show before the outro. I'm a huge Billy Joel fan, and if you ever been to any of his shows, he ends the show with the same line as he leaves the stage. And it's something, a motto, a mantra I kind of believe in. And as a note to Billy Joel, I'm going to close out each show with this line right before the outro. So, Billy, take it away.
Don't take any shit from anybody, and I mean it.
You've been listening to the Sports Card Nation podcast. Join host John Newman next week as he gives you another jam-packed episode of all things related to the sports card hobby. And a little extra fun, too. Don't forget to check out the show on Instagram at Sports Card Nation Podcast.